let's kick it off. I am so excited to chat with you about this album. It was definitely one of my favorite sleeper albums from the last year. I think it just has so many great songs. But, when did you feel like it was finally time for a full-length album with Big Loud?
Well, I've been working with those guys in one way or the other, whether it was through management or working with the producer, Joey there. Know a lot of the songwriters there. Yeah, just a lot of good friends. So once my old deal was up with a different label, it just made sense to bring everything all in house and be able to work further with my friends and be centered out of that building, just all encompassing management and everything.
Yeah, I love that. So you name the album after yourself. I feel like that is a big statement. So what was the creative conversations behind all of that?
Well, I had taken songs from each of the previous records, the previous four records, and whichever one I sort of gravitated and identified the most with, and what sort of explained to me the roots behind the record and the meaning. But this one was almost felt like a reintroduction. Um, so I'm very happy where I am in life, and it just seemed like that was the move. The whole record kind of seems to represent me and my life and where I'm at, and not just one particular song.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so interesting too, and I'm excited to kind of dive deeper with you on this part. I mean, all of these are outside cuts. Some of the names
Mhm.
that I was looking at are these songwriters. Some of my favorite people are on there: Steven Wilson Jr., Hardy, Ernest. I mean, you gathered the gambit of some of the best there on Music Row. But you know what I mean? How do you go about deciding what songs to be on there? I think 12 is a great number, but I'm sure you got thrown a lot more than 12.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like I said, being outside cuts, I have to be able to identify and have them apply to my life and take something from that song that I feel is a really great message coming from me. So that's really what it is. And then obviously, a challenging vocal, something that really, musically really, not just lyrically, but musically really inspires me, and I feel like the fans that I have would enjoy.
No, I
Um,
love that. Was there a song that maybe when you were first sent that you were like, okay, this is maybe the first song that's going to kind of get this ball rolling for this project?
oh, CRZY was one that yeah, you talk about Stephen Wilson Jr. and Jaron
Yeah.
from Cadillac 3, yeah, two of the writers in that song. It really, really spoke to me. I've got a couple daughters, and when I listen to that song, I just imagine the dad on the back porch watching the license plate CRZY driving away as they, move to the next chapter in their life, right? So
No,
I really love that song, and it really put a different spin on sonically what was on the record. It leans a little bit more traditional based musically, and yeah, I felt it rounded out the record pretty well.
I love
Yeah,
it.
but I love that one right away, and I love Stephen Wilson Jr. Obviously, Jaron. I've cut a lot of Jaron's songs, but when I saw Steven's name on there, I'm like, okay, this is rad.
Yeah, we get to see Steven in a couple of weeks on his acoustic tour, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, yeah. I think he hits up Seattle. I think part of that run. So I've been looking at the calendar to see if I'm free.
Yeah, you're like, I know, and just to have him acoustic, I feel like is going to be magical. But
Yeah, I agree.
uh back to you in this album, I feel like there's also a large kind of creative decision about the order that you put everything in. So was there a reason that you kind of wanted to kick it off with Use Me? Was, that kind of
Uh,
creative decision, or was that just it just felt right?
yeah, it did. It did. It felt right for a lot of reasons. So that's one of my favorite songs on the record. And yeah, it was one of those demos that there really wasn't any bells and whistles, anything shiny on the demo. It was just, cut straight to it, vocal, chord progression. And I knew there was something there to that song that once Joey got his hands on it, once I got in the studio with him, we make magic out of that song. And, um, yeah, to me that happened. I'm so glad that that song, it almost didn't make the record. Just
Really?
yeah, we were kind of like, okay, what song is gonna, if we find a song that we just is a no-brainer that we got to cut, what would be the song that comes off of that? And it always came out to be Use Me, but I think it more had to do with the demo. um yeah, so I'm very very glad that that my instincts were right with that song, and once it was cut, once it came to life with vocals and everything, yeah, that one's really really special to me, and that's why I put it at the beginning of the record, because okay, if you're gonna put the record on, I want you to not not give up after 7 songs or something, have it be 8. I want to, if you got the record, you're gonna listen to it. So yeah,
I love it. Well, I'm glad it didn't make the chopping block because it's
yeah.
definitely one of my favorites. But actually, my favorite song off the track kind of sits just nicely in the middle. Obviously Hardy, Mark and Hillary are on that song. Kind of chat with me about, the first time you heard that song and why it had to be a part of the project.
You talking about How Do You Miss Me?
I would.
Oh, I would. Oh, yes. Well, I do come from a pretty honest rock background. So I put out 4 rock records with the old band I was in the 2000s. And yeah, that one's definitely got some meat to it. A lot of heavier guitars, more aggressive in the vocal. Um, yeah, it's not just about singing high, it's about singing high with that aggression. Um, yeah, yeah, there was something really magical about that song too. But that sort of speaks to like trying to create an overall sound that I have, where I love to go into CRZY. It's like more traditional based storytelling, and then but also the record has a lot of, I want the record to have some aggression, which I come across honestly, and I would lyrically not necessarily is aggressive in its lyric, but sound wise, yeah, it's got some beef.
I love it. I know it was, I remember, I kind of, the one with Mackenzie kind of went right into that. Was like, whoa, this one is so different. So I love that, it does bring dynamics and it does kind of bring in your rock background. But I want to talk about working with Mackenzie Porter, fellow Canadian. Did 1-2, was it always a duet, or was that something that kind of came out as the song progressed?
No, it was yeah, right from conception. It was an idea to have as a duo for sure. And Mackenzie has been on Big Loud for quite a while now, and it was just kind of one of the things. She's a friend of mine. We've done some shows and tours together. Um, so it's just kind of when the right song kind of fell in our laps, it would be a yes, and we would both go to it. So when we heard that one, yeah, it was a no brainer for sure. Yeah, and I knew that our vocals would sound great together on that one. Um, yeah, 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 yeah. It's been a blast to perform with Mackenzie on some of her shows and hop up on stage and do things like that with her. Yeah, yeah, fellow Canadian.
I love it. So you're working with Joey Moy. I mean, I think one of hands down the best producers we've seen in a long time. Such a dynamic
Yeah.
producer. But talk to me, because you don't, I mean, these were all outside cuts. Why was it so important for you to get the sonics right of this album working along with Joey?
Well, I always go back to like my favorite records as a kid. It had those ups and downs and the peaks and valleys, and the lyrical content would change quite a bit. You wouldn't put on a record for one mood, and that's how I've always tried to since I got past the rock days where it's all angst and relationship and anger and all that stuff. I wanted to paint like a wider picture with the records and the subjects and the sounds and stuff. So that's why you'll find yeah, hopefully lots of peaks and valleys and different content in the records. It's very important for me. Like no matter what mood you're in, there's always something in that record for you. And like I said, those are the records that I love that I always keep going back to.
No, and
Since I
that's
was
why
a
I
kid.
think I liked it so much, because all of the songs were so you, but all of the songs were so different. And I think that's for me what makes a perfect record. But you're talking about bringing the angst and the angry and kind of pushing that aside a little bit. What commonalities though have you found between, your rock days and now really going full force with country?
It's more of a tool. Like I'm not afraid to go there, and people kind of who have followed my career expect that. Yeah, that's my sound. Like I said, I'm not afraid to go there, and if the song calls for it, like I would, or even Use Me's got a little bit of that. Yeah, that angst is very very useful. So I come from that background,
I love
and yeah, yeah, it's just a little extra tool in the toolbox.
I love it. So we've already talked about the top of the album, but my favorite thing is to always talk about the bookends because I feel like
Yeah.
it leaves a first impression and then it leaves you kind of wanting more. So Home is Where the Bar Is. I love it. Cole Swindell and Ernest are writers on that. Talk to me a little bit about that one.
Yeah, it speaks to um, as you're younger, you always want to go out and you're always wanting to, experience life outside the house. But I've built a life here with my kids and my wife and my close friends. I don't have to go out anywhere. Everything I need is within these four walls. And that's that song that brings a lot of meaning to me in that.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it. And it's a lot cheaper to drink at home. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or you can buy more expensive alcohol.
I love it, but I love that you keep on bringing up your kids. Do your kids have a favorite song off the album? Is there one that you find them asking for often?
Not really. I don't play my own music in the house.
Okay.
But definitely when we're putting together the record, I'll sample some stuff. And my boy is he's quite a bit older. He's gonna be turning 19 here pretty soon. And then I've got a 10-year-old girl and a 3-year-old little girl. And so they all three of them they'll like different songs on the record, but I know what checks the boxes for each one, right? And it actually really helps me make a record that is different throughout. Is because if the same record can bring something to my son who likes all kinds of heavier music, um, uh, then I know I've checked that box, and then my daughters obviously like some of the other ones like 1, 2, and yeah, yeah, for sure.
I love it. What has surprised you the most about the fans' response to the album?
Well, it's more of like it's more just sort of validation. It's like I'm seeing a lot of people gravitate to different songs on this record, which is like I said, that's the end goal. If I could speak to more people and their moods and situations they're in and stuff, um, that's that's yeah, that makes me feel really good about the end product. So it's not about surprise, it's about validation, and like I'm glad this record can bring that. And when we do bring these songs live to stage in the festivals and the shows that we're playing, right, it adds way more dynamic to a more interesting show, and kind of hit all those different emotions throughout the 90-minute set or whatever we're doing.
Yeah. Is there one?
Keeps me from getting bored
Yeah,
up there,
oh,
right? Doing the same type of
that was
song,
my
right?
next question was like, I mean, you're playing these songs. I know you are on a bunch of different lineups this year and obviously have
Mm.
played dozens of shows last year. How do you keep it fresh and how do you decide your set list for every night, especially with a new project?
Yeah, the new songs, plunking them in and finding their home is definitely a process, um, for sure. Yeah, it's creating those peaks and valleys. You really know when it's not the right song, not the right place for the song. That more stands out than that's kind of the first thing that really grabs me when I'm putting together the set list and we try it out. Um, and once we don't have those clashes and it flows really well, then it's like, okay, I think we found a home for this song and the energy that the crowd is kind of feeding off at that point, and where we want to go and where the crowd wants to go with the songs. Yeah.
I love it. So I always love asking people. There has been so much chatter about the state of country music these
Hmm.
days. And so I would love your take on what is exciting you and how you want to be able to inject yourself into that conversation as well.
Well, I first went to Nashville 2009, and watching sort of the world open its arms up, fans from different genres coming over and getting something from the music in the country music world. It's really been cool to see that evolve. If you go back to my first record, it was very straight across country influenced, a little bit of rock stuff, a little heavier. Um, but as these different sounds have happened and been injected from different worlds, it just makes the palette a lot bigger. And I love the different sounds in country music, and there's a bit for everybody. Like there really is lyrically and sonically. It's it is a special place to be in the country music genre, and I think it really yeah, I could never associate now with just the straight across rock stuff where the stuff that we used to do in my old band. Now with country music, I can touch all those positive things and the party stuff and some of the angst, and so it's really great to have country music, develop and have that huge palette that it does now. It's
Yeah,
been
I've
it's
finally been
cool.
able to bring my sister over to the dark side. So
Yeah,
thanks to the things opening, my poor parents would walk down our hallway and you'd have Avenged Sevenfold in one room and then Reba McEntire in my room. So finally my
yeah.
sister is able to kind of blend those two together.
Yeah, it's been fun watching like my old fans from the old band, right? I recognize a lot of them, and actually one of my last posts that I made on social media was like talking just about my journey from rock sort of over to country music in around 2010, and a lot of them are saying, "Yeah, you brought me over," or "This song brought me over." This song was what did it for me, and I love country music now. So it's really cool to see people open their eyes up, and it's not just it's just more than just the twangy country that you would hear that maybe your parents played, like stuff early the 70s or 80s, right? It's very cool. A lot of different stuff going on.
I love it. So, what are your goals for this year? I know you're doing a bunch of festivals, so we're hoping to come and
Yeah.
see you. But what goals do you have for yourself this year?
There's you know, I don't really put like a little list of what I want to achieve. There's dreams, obviously. Like I hope to make my Opry debut this year. I'm hoping that'll happen. Um, it's just a matter of focusing on just life and family and just giving this record the light of day that I think it deserves. And I want to give it a good shot, get it in front of a lot of ears and eyes. And so that's just kind of, I just, whatever happens, happens at that point. But my focus is to like, yeah, my goal this year is to open up my audience and yeah, so gain some new fans in different territories and at least let them hear it. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, whatever. At least that, at least I got you to hear it, right?
You're listening to